And there are two types of stability that the body needs. It needs, or certainly the spine needs, well, and the body needs, but we're talking about the spine. It needs a static stability, so it needs to be able to hold the spine, hold the vertebra in place, the 5 lumbar vertebra, because there is no bony structure holding them. It needs the muscles to hold them in place, mainly QL, psoas, and also the thoracolumbar fascia, which joins on to all of the spinous processes, which brings in longissimus, iliocostalis, and latissimus dorsi. You've then got the glutes underneath to be able to stabilize the pelvis as well, but that will come into the next part, which is the dynamic stability. Now, what is stability? Stability is muscle timing. We've talked about muscular endurance, which is the ability for your muscles to keep going whilst resisting fatigue. Now we've just got, with every contraction, they're contracting at the right time, because most people assume that muscles time at the right time. But when pain is involved, it disturbs all of, let's just say, normal muscle function. And it sort of sends everything out of kilter, if you will, for want of a better way of describing it. So we need to bring muscle timing back in. So we need to use exercise to bring that timing back in. The second one is dynamic stability. Now, dynamic stability, I'm going to use the hips as the example, because dynamic stability is stability whilst moving. Static stability is just the ability to hold it statically. Obviously, dynamic is about the actual movement, which is where the hips come in a little bit more. Now, how do you know you've got dynamic stability? Well, if you've got smoothness of movement. If you struggle to balance on one leg, there is instability either in the ankle or the hip. If you've got a wobbly walking lunge, or walking along, say, a beam or a curb, then again you've got dynamic instability. So we need to rebuild that, because that is going to help further up the chain and be a part of your stability. More specifically to the lower back pain, we've also got the hip hinge. And what the hip hinge does, hip hinge gets your hips and lower back working together. Because what we're able to do with that is we're able to differentiate between the hips and the lower back. When we move at the hips, or when we hip hinge, we move at the hips, and we are able to keep the lower back in a neutral posture. Now, that's a useful thing to be able to do. I'm not saying it's bad to round your lower back, but again, going back to managing posture, depending on the injury that you have, we need to respect that injury, we need to respect our spine, and we need to move accordingly. So if we have a flexion-based injury, we need to start moving from the hips. From a fitness and performance perspective, if we move from the hips, we're going to have more fitness and performance, because the hip muscles, the glute max, is the force, the power house of the body. If we move from the lower back, which is longissimus, iliocostalis, multifidus, then we haven't got much capacity there to lift. But if we lift from the glutes, we've got a lot of capacity to lift. It's where throwing comes from. It's where punching comes from. It's where kicking comes from. So being able to differentiate your hips and your lower back, and being able to move your hips and not your lower back, is going to give you much more. And it starts with a hip hinge. So building and just getting the hips and lower back to move properly is muscle timing, which therefore is dynamic stability. So we need to, or dynamic and static stability, because you've got the lumbar spine staying in place and the dynamic stability of the hips. So both are working together. So we need to get all these things. There are more. I could go on and talk about more of these things. But those are 5. Those are 5 important components to think about when rehabilitating your lower back. And if nothing else, you get from this is it's not just about strengthening the lower back.